So many of us feel so deeply alone in the struggles that we're experiencing. And when you can get around a group of other people who help you to see that it's not just you, man, that changes everything.
Now, it's Friday, you're headed into the weekend, and then that one thing that you said and you promised yourself that you were going to get done still isn't done this week, but yet it's been burning up all your energy. Just imagine what you would actually be able to do with all of that energy that you spent wasting, contemplating back and forth how you're going to get it done, but yet you're procrastinating. That's what we're going to get into in this episode.
Hey, everybody, what is going on? It is Bianca.
Welcome back, Evolvers. It's Emilia, and today in this episode, we're going to give a overview, a deep dive, maybe a little skirt on the topic procrastination. Now, in all real talk.
Funny? What? You know what's funny? I had that same thought in my head, a little skirt. As you said it, I was thinking the same thing. That's so funny.
I love it. Yeah. So for those of you who have been new to the Evolve train, we host for every single month, we host a free live virtual event. You've likely heard us talk about it. And it's one of our favorite things that we do here at Evolve. And it's called Out of the Mud. And the concept is to help us all get unstuck in those little things that as human beings, we are stuck in. And we don't even realize the ruts that we're actually in. And so the last month that we just had, the last Out of the Mud that Bianca and I did was in June, right? Because happy July. We're in July. Whoop, whoop. And pre-July 4th. So I hope y'all are feeling the vibes. But with that being said, we went into all things procrastination. Now, we're not going to go deep into the procrastination because we do have an episode already on that. However, we want to share what some things kind of came up in that event because we found that in this Evolve community, we all tend to go through very similar things, right? On this growth journey, you are not alone. We say that again and again, and we want to make sure that you know that, not just in the high level of when we're talking, but between you and I in the actual of like what we see come up day to day. So let's get us started with what was the last thing that you remember, that was so, I would say like so impactful or surprising about the event, about
I thought you were going to ask.
about the go ahead.
Nope.
Well, I think the bear is coming to my mind. I mean, I'll just put it out there.
Oh, that was funny. That was really funny. I thought you were going to ask what's the last thing you procrastinated on, and I was like, that Out of the Mud event.
The irony.
LOL. I was actually going to start with that story, and I was like, you know what? Let me not.
Yeah. I mean, well, here's the thing. That's a great example of it's so easy to procrastinate, right? Like everyone that's listening to us, like how many of you have been thinking to yourself, man, that one thing that I want to get done, it's not done yet, right? Like we're just burning up energy and time, and we could otherwise put that to something that we deeply love and care about, but we're going to avoid it. We're going to kind of skirt around it. We're not going to really get that one thing that is just really like sleeping rent-free in our head, right? Like we're not going to get that done. So B, what was the most surprising thing that you found in Out of the Mud?
It was really interesting seeing people. I'm going to kind of steal what you said before we started this because I fully agree with you and I think we should have a dialogue about it. One of the things that surprised me so much is how few people understood before that event that procrastination is tied into a lack of your needs being met, and how few people are actually really able to meet their needs on a consistent basis. Like that was one of the biggest through lines of that event was everyone was in the chat and really talking about, and there was a couple people, which shout out to you. Richard was one of the people who he like had his camera on, he had his audio on, he was talking, he was talking to us in that. So it was awesome. He had his mic on. So shout out to you. But a lot of people were in the chat or verbally expressing, I really have a hard time meeting my own needs. I really struggle understanding what I need, and I feel really guilty asking for my needs, I feel like I'm not supposed to ask, or I feel like I'm not supposed to. I feel like I'm wrong for bringing up that I even have them.
Yeah. This is a through line that actually keeps coming up again and again in the work that we're doing here at Evolve, in the challenges that we're helping so many amazing, beautiful souls really overcome. It's a through line of there's this part that gets activated within us and suppresses our needs even before we might be consciously aware of them. And those needs that aren't getting met, that actually increases the stress that we might be having in our internal system, in our stress systems, to where even thinking about doing something or having that conversation with a friend, with a partner, with someone that you care about, it feels so overwhelming, because already at the baseline, before you even get started, right, your central nervous system is already taxed. Or as a client put the other night on a coaching call, resourcefully so intense, or resourceful intensive. Oh my goodness, a mouthful. Because he said that the connotation of being taxing is negative, and it's not necessarily a negative when we have needs and how we need those needs met, but rather looking at it from an energetic intensity, and what the requirement of it is really important. And so, be it the conversation that you want to have with your friend, or the text that you want to send to your mom or your dad, or this or that or the other thing, right? A lot of things can feel just so overwhelming and overburdening. And what do we do when we're just constantly stuck in that cycle, in that loop? And then bam, you're sitting there out of the mud, you're hanging out with the girls, and you're like, damn, I didn't realize that I have so little of my needs met, actually. So, I mean, B, let's have a conversation, ma'am. Oh, what so you and I have been talking about this behind the scenes. I want us to just play a little bit on this. For purposes of the listeners that are here too with us, and I want them to play with us as well. Let's get in the sandbox. So the last thing that you procrastinated, I want you to have that in mind. I'm going to have one as well. Okay, I got mine. You got yours? Okay. So now I want you thinking about the time to where you said to yourself, you're going to do that thing. You're going to have that conversation, to the time that actually got done. What's that like? If you were to really high level give a shot at like how much time passed between you said you were going to get it done, or you said you were going to have that conversation, and it actually got done, or you actually had that conversation, what's the average time you would kind of put on it? All in.
I mean, like I said, I definitely procrastinated the out of the mud event. So I said all throughout the month I was going to do it, and then I did it the week of.
Okay.
So like 3 weeks.
Brutal.
I do need to add a stipulation though. It was semi-intentional, because I was optimizing for other things that were like more pressing at the time. So it wasn't full procrastination of like, I don't feel like doing this. It was partly that, but it was also partly other things needed to be prioritized. So it was semi-intentional.
Okay, I like that, because one of the things that there in the Out of the Mud event was honestly really indicative of how many of us struggle with this, finding that line between I'm optimizing for something else that's more pressing, more urgent, versus actually procrastinating and I don't have control over that. Like I'm actually avoiding that. There's the sabotaging patterns. There's the tax of my central nervous system. And I find that not everyone has that skill developed, knowing when that line is. So I'm going to ask you, how do you know that some of it was optimizing for higher pressing things and not just your perceived higher urgent things? And how do you know where that line was when it started to kind of cross over into procrastination? Because I think that is going to be a helpful dialogue for you and I to have as we kind of continue this this episode.
I've become the type of person that I know when I say I'm going to do something, I will do it and I will do it well. And so I knew that in the weeks prior to what I was doing, there were other things that needed my attention and they needed my full focus and they needed me to do them well. And there were needs of mine that I needed to be met. And I knew within myself that if I can make sure that I'm allocating my energy and my resources to these other things, I will then have more bandwidth to be able to do the out of the mud slides and to put the presentation together and to do it effectively. And I was only able to do that because I've been practicing this for years and have been really practicing on my self-regulation and my energy control and understanding the narratives and the stories that I'm telling myself. And is this the part that's trying to not do something, or is this actually an intelligent, rational choice? Now, was there a part of me that was like, oh my God, I don't feel like doing this? 100%. 100%. I don't feel like being here right now. But I knew that it needed to get done. And I knew that I would get it done. And because my resources and my own needs weren't being taken care of, I knew that I had to optimize for that first.
Okay, got you. So, and this is really also indicative of some of the things that we chatted about as a community at the end of the event, which was, when we all kind of had what we learned together and we were kind of stewing in that, whoa, I actually realized that there's parts of me that are convincing me that I'm working or I'm making money or I'm doing these certain things that are higher quote unquote priority and meeting these higher priority needs. But if I really were to take a step back, actually it's procrastination. There's that line that is really, really risky for a lot of people, because what happens when you do not have that presence of self, which is what you're mentioning, that knows how to call oneself out on their bullshit, right? Their belief systems that are inaccurate. So that BS that ends up kind of coming to par of like, well, I just need to get this work thing done. Well, I just need to get, this conversation over here, or I just need to scroll a little bit more over here because it helps me relax, right? It helps meet that need of like just desensitizing from the world that I just had. That narrative making is so important to be consistently like not grooming, but like combing through, if you will, because it's so easy to have these parts that don't actually want to do that thing also be the writer of the narrative of why you're not doing it.
Hi everybody, I wanted to jump on here. My name is Julie and I wanted to give a huge shout out to Evolve Ventures and to my coaching with Bianca. I'm like many of you. It's like I've read all the books, positivity, the glass is half full, it's not half empty. Tried to get myself away from negative people, tried to think positive thoughts, suffered from depression, on medications, tried everything, counseling, tried so many different things, and it helped, but I never felt like I got to the root of the problem. And I started listening to Evolve Ventures, amazing. And then I did a free coaching with Bianca and thought, what could it hurt? It's free, right? Oh my gosh, that day changed my life. I blurted out to Bianca things that I had never even really thought about myself. And I ended up setting up coaching with her. And I know so many of us say, oh, we can't afford coaching. But let me tell you, that coffee that you drink, that cupcake that you have, those cookies that you buy, that restaurant you go to, all those little things to make you feel better, you can take all of that and put it aside and invest in yourself. Use that money to invest in you, because you don't need those cookies to feel happy anymore. You don't need those restaurants to feel happy anymore. When you know how to be happy yourself, how to make yourself happy. And it's not all great, every day is fine, but I can now acknowledge things. I can acknowledge why I feel the way I do, and I can work through it without having to feel like there is no help. People are great. I definitely recommend Evolve Ventures and Bianca.
Well, you also have to honor your parts. Like maybe your parts are, there's a delicate balance between understanding, are your parts really not getting their needs met, or is this just the pattern that they've been running because it's safer and more comfortable not to do it. There definitely have been times where my parts wanted to avoid something because they didn't want to do it. They were struggling. It was easier not to. And there's other times where my parts are like, we are not okay. I need you to hear me. We are not going to be okay if you just bypass us. And because of the work that I've done in therapy, I know the difference, or I'm starting to. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm starting to understand the difference. In the weeks up to Out of the Mud, there was a delicate balance of both. And when I know that my parts are like, they're just uncomfortable and they don't want to do it, I know how to check in with myself and be like, hey, listen, I got this. It's going to be okay. Let's take it step by step. Exactly what we talked about in that event. And I also know when I actually am not okay. I'm significantly under-resourced. I'm not sleeping. I haven't eaten well. All of these other needs are not being met. And actually listening to myself when that comes up and finding a way to meet those needs.
Yeah, one of the things that we presented in the event was the 3 R's practice. The recognize, reframe, and rectify, which is what you literally just talked about you've done. And a key component of that is knowing that you are likely procrastinating. Like the likelihood of procrastination goes up when your resourcing goes down, i.e. you haven't slept, right? We openly talked about some of my struggles when it came to sleep and how under-resourced I was at one point and how I would only get like 5 hours of sleep and how that impacted my brain. And anyways, then you had that image of the bear in the background of how like if you were to be chased at like by a bear, which is what a lot of our unconscious brain feels like going throughout the day, a lot of the times because we don't have great sleep and then we don't resource ourselves with like a smoothie or water or food or exercise or even just some breath work, right? When you have that chasing after you in your mind and then blowing things out of proportion because your amygdala is hyperactive, of course you're going to push things off that feel big. Of course, like that's just the brain trying to be mindful of its resources. And so we also put in a very important component, which is like being mindful of the shame that can be induced, self-induced, when it comes to you not maybe being in a pattern within your whole life at a macro level of feeling like you can really get after it. And there was this really great question that came up, the difference between procrastination and laziness. I was talking and I had shared like you might not have a lifestyle or a design macro level that is encouraging the patterns to help you feel resourceful and like your needs are getting met so that you can tackle those things. And so as a result of that patterning, you might have just assigned this identity to oneself, i.e. the belief systems, the BS that we tell ourselves that we're a lazy person. What if we were to have some realignment in some big areas of your life that have big impacts? I wonder if that identity would still be there. I wonder if the procrastination would start to go down, right?
What if laziness and procrastination both come from the same root and it's just a different label? If you believe that you're inherently lazy, it means that you don't have the internal or the external drivers to go do whatever the thing is that you're telling yourself you want to do. What if procrastination is very similar? You don't have the internal or the external means to go do the thing that you need to do. It's the same premise. We're just giving it a different label. We're giving it a different name. But ultimately, it all comes down to there is something within us. There's a narrative that we had and that we have. There's needs that we have that are not being met. And we're not connected enough with ourselves to understand what they are. And then we're not resourced enough to go get those met so we can do the thing that we need to do. It's like, are you procrastinating the gym or are you lazy? It's the same thing. You're not going.
The outcome's the same.
Why aren't you going? If you tell yourself it's because you're lazy, okay, it's because you're optimizing for comfort. Okay, why are you optimizing for comfort? What's the narrative that you have about what's going to happen if you go? Okay, well, procrastination is the same thing. Why are you procrastinating signing up for the gym? Because signing up is uncomfortable. Okay, what makes it uncomfortable? It's because a narrative that you have in your head. So if you break it down to its primary fundamental levels, they come from the same premise. So the label kind of doesn't matter. It's the function and the narrative underneath it and the needs. And a lot of us aren't good at understanding what our needs are and what our thoughts are and what our beliefs are and how to accurately and appropriately meet them and understand them and unpack them and evolve them, which is why we're here. And this is why we put episodes out all the time the way that we do and talk about the things that we do. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you do, because you're going to miss episodes and you're going to miss amazing content if you don't.
For sure. And, you know, it's like, it's as if this is one of the biggest things that as we become these adults or we grow older, not necessarily mature, right? But as we grow older, a little cue to one of our last episodes, we don't realize, because we're just usually on autopilot all the time. It's almost, we're assigning these belief systems about ourselves, about other people, about the world, about our capabilities, about our skill sets, about how well we do things, as if we know what our needs are, as if we've already met those needs, as if we are great at meeting those needs, as if we have sufficient level of resources to crush whatever we want to do, whatever we tell ourselves we're going to do, or whatever conversations we tell ourselves that we're going to have today. Like, I'm going to have that conversation with this girl that I really am digging today. Like, I'm going to have that conversation with my partner about my needs not getting met, you know, in this arena of our relationship, right? It's as if we already have that excellence in meeting our needs, where more often than not, we don't. And so to everyone that's joining us on this episode, I want you to think about the last thing that you procrastinated. And like we did in this episode, I want you to calculate how much time you think you really kind of spent spinning your wheels, having it be kind of the back chatter of your mind while you're trying to focus on the thing that you're getting through at the moment, right? And that back chatter in your mind is just burning up unnecessary resources, which actually could get freed up to be reallocated to either the thing that you're trying to focus in on, your primary focus, or even something like rest and recovery, so that you can go get after and go accomplish this thing. What would you do with all that extra resource and all that extra energy? Where would you allocate it? Would you finally go to the gym? Would you finally, start that course that you've been really interested in? Would you finally start to develop those skill sets that are so meaningful for you? Would you finally start to learn about bonsai gardening or whatever? Like, I don't know. But what I do know is that on the other side of you actually hearing this episode and answering some of those questions for you, that's where you're going to learn those areas of your life that you're just letting yourself rob you of. Life has so much meaning in it, and there's so much opportunity for us to reallocate the energy that is so unnecessarily just being wasted because of our own BS in all reality, with all the love underneath that. So in closing, my closing thought is really think about where you deeply crave to have more time, where you deeply crave to do something very special and what would be meaningful for you. Maybe it's a vacation. Maybe it's, I don't know, whatever that is. And then I want you directly connecting that to how much time you're wasting procrastinating and how much energy you're burning by procrastinating. And then if this is something that you actually want to do something about, instead of just sit in the misery and start to assign belief systems about yourself that are not true, do something about that. And Bianca and I have so many amazing opportunities up and coming in this month that are going to help you do that and help you actually take action that is meaningful in that direction. So stay tuned for what we have just in a minute in this episode. And my closing episode suggestion is, like I said, 367, which is more of a deep dive into how to overcome procrastination. B, closing episode and suggestion.
The people who do the best in the world are the ones who take care of their needs the best. It's something that you and Alan both taught me, and it's something I'm applying in my own life, and it's what I want to offer to every single person here. My episode suggestion is number 400, The Ways Avoidance is Ruining Your Life. Emilia,
Woof.
what do people have to look forward to? What is this exciting news that we have?
All right. So we all have that villain in our head, right? The one that's saying, don't get up, stay on the couch, don't sign up for that gym membership. It's going to be, right? Bianca mentioned those narratives. We're creating narratives at all time in our heads that are preventing us from actually showing up in that version of ourselves that we deeply crave, right? This villain in our head is responsible for these self-sabotaging behaviors, the procrastination tendencies, the sluggish behaviors, if you will, more than we even realize. And at the end of the day, we feel lost, we feel hopeless, we feel stuck, we feel alone, and ensue the narrative of our spiral that we experience. So Bianca and I, after years and years and years of saying to ourselves, I wish I had something that would help me in this arena. And it didn't just look like a one-on-one setting. We actually wanted an area that was a psychologically safe space that got around other people that are in this growth journey, in this evolve journey, in that care about their growth, but want to do that with other people that are safe other people. Because you and I both know this work is so scary to do. This inner work, this healing journey, this evolve journey is scary to do. And when you can link up in the arms of other people who are going through that, what you're going through right now, it is so much more meaningful. And there's incredible progress that's underneath that. This is why we designed Evolve Group Coaching. We've got so many hours in this program, and it is so freaking amazing. We only have it once a year. And this coming July 4th, we are going to be kicking off our first session. And so in a nutshell, 24th. What you're going to get, 24th. Yep, my bad. In this program, you essentially have 9 growth sessions when you're sitting down, hanging out with Bianca and myself, and we are going to get deep into all things safety, psychological safety, trauma, emotional regulation, coping, relationships and relationship ruptures, core beliefs, identities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the foundational aspects that really do matter on this healing journey. And as you evolve, you'll have 10 other individuals around you doing the same exact thing, where we're going to get into the content that matters at the deepest levels. And ultimately, what's so freaking exciting about this is it is so insanely affordable. So with that being said, we're going to have all the information that's coming out as enrollment is now officially open. Like I said, there's only 10 seats. So make sure that if this is of interest to you and you have that villain in your head saying, no thanks. It only happens once a year. There's only 10 seats here. And it's extremely affordable. Less than $300 for the entirety of the program. You have lifetime access. We have payment plans between 3 months and 6 months that break down to, I want to say, less than $50 a month. It is insane value. Do not sit on this opportunity. So you'll hear more about it. Connect with us on social media, and if you have interest, definitely reach out to us. Bianca and I are just a DM away. So also full money back guarantee. If you hate the program, if you didn't have fun, something didn't vibe with you, no questions asked. Full money back guarantee. So with that said, we're so freaking excited. And we've done this program, and every single time we get feedback from people who have gone through it, the feedback is beyond what we could ever imagine. It is, and again, don't take it from us. Go to the website. The link will be in the show notes. Hear it from past graduates of this program. It is life-changing, and I'm not just saying that. Hear it from them, and we would love to have you join us in this program.
We can't wait to see you there. Bye, everybody.
Bye now.